for common man. Common man, charms the housewives like no one can. What'd you shoot?
Where'd we play?
Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Okay, calm down.
Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, hello?
Out of hundreds of deals that I've done, hundreds. Rosa, you don't know nothing.
Well done, young man.
We'll head to Buffalo, play on the road. I think the weather. Of course, having spent a lot of time in Minnesota, I understand the weather pattern. Pick up the Calcutta Clipper, swings down, swings up, lakefront influence, and out. I think we'll probably have about 45-degree weather, so it will not be a typical October 31st in Buffalo.
Who that? Who there?
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Multi-action offensive sets.
And he's loose.
I think we have a very good mix right now. I mean, the morning show does well, comparatively speaking, especially given what it has to go against. Dubers and I have done well, knock on wood, for 4 years. Common and Hartman have done okay, and Barrero is, in my estimation, the primetime player on our station. And cultivating a couple of kids in Sludge and Lake, and, you know, we have the Vikings and maybe some things down the road, so I think we're strong right now.
I just want to say, you doubted us, but now we're here.
You like that? You like that?
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the north.
Yada.
This is the common man, Dan Cole.
The Common Man program begins in 5. Well, actually, 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. 2, 1. Greetings. Ack-ack-a-dack and dack-dack-ack to you and yours. Ack-ack-a-dack is your password for tomfoolery and skullduggery. It will also gain you admittance into a meeting of the Loyal Order of Water Buffalo. Ooh la la, ooh la la. I'm a radio dinosaur. The fans, my La Brea tar pit. There will come a day when paleontologists and archaeologists will be sifting through the rubble. There will be 1600 Utica Avenue South, and they'll stumble across my skeletal remains and my cold, dead, rigor mortis laden lips, and they will be attached to thanks. It's blowing my eardrum out. I can't control I can control my own volume. Hold on. But they'll find my cold, dead, rigor mortis laden lips attached to this electro voice RE27, and they'll say, "Egad, a social commentator with an archaic communication device. We're here until 3 today." Tend to be he to me is what Tonto was to the Lone Ranger, a faithful companion and sidekick. He's also the bridge producer of the program. That is, by the way, it's really not a promotion. It was just a way to make him feel better from being interim producer. We called him Bridge, because remember we were talking about bridge quarterback Sam Darnold, a bridge quarterback. This quarterback is a bridge, this bridge, that. He's a bridge. Rosen at 2, and then the big ticket and JG tape. If you're looking for a show that's poised, polished, and professional, you've come to the wrong place. Yeah. Just hang around until 3. Right now, you're going to get uninformed, unprepared, and unapologetic. Now, I think Tennessee is a bit more prepared, but he doesn't host the show. He sidekicks, so he kind of, I guess he's basically guilty by default, by association, right? Yeah. Just because you're here, so people think, and hopefully they realize you got a little bit more of the ball than I do. Speaking of Darnold, who I ran into? I had a really good meeting with a local entrepreneur, a guy named John Montague. Worked with him for quite some time. Matter of fact, he started a beverage company called Aspire. Aspire. Do you remember Aspire? Yeah. It was to go head to head with the Gatorades, because Gatorades, some of their ingredients might not be the best for you, and Aspire was doing a much cleaner approach to it. Then he sold the company. It's always good. You start a company, sell a company. Yep. Start a company. He's an entrepreneur. He's done movies with Hollywood, hung out with Jack Lemmon. And we were just talking about some ideas downstairs. And as I was there, it was probably about a 90-minute meeting. We were just down by Piano Man, right, where he hangs out. It's amazing all the different people you see come and go. Sure. Salespeople coming and going, the boss coming and going, and Ben Leber coming and going. And so Leber came by, and of course I said, like you to meet John Montague, because I know John already. We're both from Edina. So because Montague knows everybody. He does the Dunker stuff, he knows everybody. He knows Fleck, he knows O'Connor, he knows everybody, okay. But anyway, so I bounced my idea of trading McCarthy. But here's what I like. At first he goes, stop. I go, no, hear me out. I said, because everybody thinks that's what I'm saying they should do. Well, I really think they should, but I'm just saying, why is that so far-fetched? He actually said, I wouldn't want him to do that, but you could make that case. Because he, like a lot of other people, I think, believe that KOC can get a lot out of a quarterback. We saw the proof of it here with Darnold. But it was just nice, instead of just having the Rose and go, and to bury his head down in his arms on the counter and saying you're a complete blithering idiot just because no one's suggested before. He knows they're not going to do it. So it's safer to just say, oh, that's crazy, because it's never going to happen. And so you won't be associated with craziness or brilliance. You'd rather walk the safe and narrow.
Now, if Ben Leber had given that exact same opinion, I bet he wouldn't throw his face into the table.
That's exactly right.
Into his hands.
If Ben would have said, well, you could make that argument. I guess you could do that. I mean, you would save money. You would get draft picks. You'd accumulate draft picks. But Ben does not want to do that. I mean, everybody believes in McCarthy. It's the blind leading the blind, but that's okay too. But everybody believes in McCarthy. They believe in KOC, and they believe in Kwesi and everything they're doing, so that's all good. But I did just like the way, at least I wasn't complete, and maybe he was just being nice to me, right? Maybe he's thinking, if I start to debate this with Common, I'll never get out of here. As a matter of fact, he finally looked at us watch and said, I got to go. But you know what? I believe he did have to go, because he's a TV guy, man. Think about how far his star has risen over the years. Went from a mediocre he was a really good linebacker. Went from a National Football League career. Now he does sideline reporting for the Vikings radio network. He's a regular on all of the shows here on the Fan. He's worked for Westwood One. Has he done ESPN stuff? He's done a lot of national television and radio stuff.
He did national radio broadcasts during the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course he's a local TV star. That's a pretty good gig when you're the, It used to be hosted back in the olden days by, was it Dave and Sharon? I don't remember who it was. They were the longtime hosts of
who?
All of these local TV stations have that afternoon show, right? They all do it. Starts like at 3:00 and runs up till the 5:00 local news. And, they do recipes. And I've done that to Leber, just being, me being a Richard. If we'll go back and forth about something, and I'll go, why don't you stick to recipes, and I'll do football? Because those shows typically will have somebody that comes on and says, hey, if you're looking for something different for turkey this year, we're going to teach you how to roast a turkey. And they'll have that person on, and they'll cook in their little kitchen there. Matter of fact, when I used to work over at, do you know there was a time I was on TV as well?
Huh?
Worked for Fox. Ted Canova was the news director. He loved Barrero and I. Just loved us.
Oh.
And that's when he had Barrera, when there was a camera in here, and Barrera would go to break at like 5 something. He would do the break at the same time. He'd spin around, and then the anchors on the 5:00 newscast for Fox would say, so Dan, do you have your fingers on the pulse of the Twin Cities? What's everybody saying? And they'd talk back and forth.
Yeah.
I used to do these 90-second commentaries. Right. Me, social commentator, high school dropout. I don't know what Ted was thinking. But so But I would go down there twice a week. I did them like Tuesdays and Thursdays, maybe it was Tuesdays and Fridays. And I'd go down there and I would send them my script and they'd put it in the teleprompter, right? That teleprompter is a great gig. But you go down there and Fox has they have a kitchen there because they do those cooking segments on those shows. And you guys just like, you got the microwave over there and the stove and the oven and such like that. And so they kind of do those things. But Ben Leber his star is rising probably is faster and farther than anybody in local media right now. Would you agree? I mean, I don't see anybody. I mean, Barney the Purple Dinosaur is the national treasure. He's already accomplished everything he needs to be. But maybe Ben takes over for Strahan someday. Does Strahan still do that morning gig? Good Morning America?
Yes.
Doesn't he? Maybe
he does the national Sunday pregame show stuff for Fox.
Yeah, and he also does a regular weekday show, right? Yeah. So maybe Ben. It was Steve and Sharon, and they actually ended up getting married. Good Company was called. Steve Adelson and Sharon Anderson. So people do remember. So I think that was one of the. I don't know if that was the most successful, but you always heard about Sharon and Steve. And it's a pretty good gig. Maybe we should get Sharon and Steve to come in and do Program Password. What do you think of that?
Sure.
We're always looking for people to do Program Password. I got a lot of controversial items to get to today, Tenneby, including one.
Interesting.
Including one you brought to my attention. So, did it actually turn into fisticuffs? They had to physically be separated?
They said verbal accosting. Is that what they said? Was that the word?
Okay, there was a verbal confrontation between
the Fox guy.
Yeah,
Schultz?
Fox guy, and then with
Ian Rappaport.
With Ian Rappaport. So we'll talk about that. Big game tonight. I think I'm ready to talk.
The Super Bowl's not tonight.
No,
that was a couple weeks ago.
This is bigger. Wolves versus the LA Lakers. I got a $4 bet on it. Power Trip Sports put it on Power Trip Bets has it on their website or Twitter feed, whatever you call it. Coming up at 1:30, we're winnowing it down now. It's PST-VVII. After today, we'll be down to.
We're down to 8 today. So we'll be down to the foolish 4.
Yes.
24 hours from now.
24 hours from now. Yeah. And then, of course, the Dokay do, and then we'll crown a PST champ. So plenty to get to here on the Common Man program. Back after this.
Join the Power Trips Meat Sauce and Miller Lite at Dave's Town Club in Delano tonight from 5 to 7. Stop by to register for a chance to win a spot in the Vikings Foundation Golf Tournament. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword golf.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man program. Time for Peak at the Purple. Brought to you by Affordable Electric. They're your old home specialist. Affordable Electric is very familiar with, get this, Tenneby, old wiring like knob and tube. Knob and tube wiring, that's old. Cloth-covered wiring, aluminum, and older fuse boxes. They understand their limitations and their potential safety concerns. Let them thoroughly inspect your old home and get you up to snuff. They'll assess the condition, identify any potential hazards, and recommend necessary upgrades or replacements. Affordable Electric. Reach out today. Affordable-electric.com. Affordable Electric is shockingly affordable. Couple of things. Someone sent a couple of text messages or have come into the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. This one says, do you know what I love about this show? That first segment was absolutely nothing, borderline worthless, but I loved it. It's radio gold. There really wasn't anything. It was just, we call that stream of consciousness. Just talking a little of this, a little of that with the emphasis on the laugh. And that's what most people do when they talk. It's called radio gardening. You don't have, like if Tenneby and I were going to get together for a cup of coffee, which we wouldn't, let's just say we were going to. It's not like Tenneby's written out everything he's going to say and do it word for word. It'd be like, so what's going on? What do you think? Hey, did you hear about Frankie Sappin playing pretty well again? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I saw that. What about this? What about that? Oh, you like hitting it farther and straighter, do you? And then you just go on. So you don't have everything all plotted out. So we just kind of jumped into the segment. I was talking about running into Ben Leber. How nice it was to run into Ben Leber. Here's another one that says, he goes, oh, wrong guy with Leber, whatever that means. He's a huge JJ guy. He was pitching on PA show a couple hours ago that if Darnold had led them to the big game, that you still say thank you and goodbye. Because JJ was the plan, and you should never deviate from a plan.
Huh? What?
That's what he claims.
Who said we should never deviate from
Leber? He's saying that's what Leber said.
So if you, for football of all sports, if you have a set play that KOC is dialed up,
yeah,
and you get up to the line and you realize, man, this defense isn't going to work for the current play we have set up, but we can't deviate from the plan, so let's just run the play as we had. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know if he really said that, but we'll go with it anyways, right? And well, again, I'm just, he may have said it, may not, but we're going to go with it anyways because that's what the text messenger had
I was
said.
saying all along during the season because, right, we were talking about Darnold, 10 games in, about what do you do with him after the season because he was playing at a borderline, MVP level up until that point.
Correct.
And I said at the time, where we sit now, I would still go J.J. McCarthy in the offseason. But if they make an extended playoff run and get to a big game, then I am willing to change my mind at that point. Yeah. And I think you have to be as a staff.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. I talked to him a bit about Darnold. And for me, I don't say it annoys me, but I kind of roll my eyes, shrug my shoulder, and shake my head, is I believe most people, take McCarthy out of the situation. Take keeping Sam Darnold or not keeping Sam Darnold out of the situation. Most people that it seems that weigh in on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line, KFAN.com, the Talkback, the KFAN Talkback feature, or when I read the message boards in the Fish Wraps East and the West and the Athletic and all this, where people report on stuff and you're allowed to comment. People are basically taking that one poor game he had against Detroit. If you want to use the choke word, let's use it. He choked against Detroit. He missed a couple of wide open receivers and he lost. The following game had more to do with, he made a lot of nice throws against the Rams. It had more to do with bad protection, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he had no time to throw. Now some people would say, well, he hung on to the ball too much, but part of that is the head coach likes to throw the ball downfield. They like those long developing patterns with Addison and Jefferson. But for me, it's where there are people out there because of that one game, they say, well, Darnold's done. He'll never be any good. That's basically what the conclusion they've kind of come to. And I'm like, well, I'm just telling you, even Hall of Fame football players have had bad performances, right? You could even say Mahomes was bad. Now, I'm not comparing Mahomes and Darnold. Please don't nominate me for PST. But I mean, Mahomes has had bad games. Everybody's had poor games or moments where it didn't work out for them. But that doesn't mean, you know what? Darnold may never have the kind of success in the rest of his career that he had last year. That could very well be. But I'm just not ready to say, well, Darnold's terrible because he overthrew JJ 5 times in that last game. If you're going to judge his entire career on that game, I just think that's a little short-sighted. Would you agree with that?
I think what's going against Darnold from a public perception standpoint is Kirk Cousins' 6 years here.
Okay.
Right? Like, I think Kirk Cousins, I think everyone would agree, like, Cousins was a quality quarterback while he was here. But he was a quality quarterback making a lot of money. And that hamstrung the rest of the roster in terms of the flexibility you would have to add stuff around him. And I think people like Sam Darnold when he's your $10 million free agent acquisition and he plays that well. But now when it comes to, well, now we got to hand over the money to him, you start doing I liked Darnold and thought he was a quality player and still think he can be a quality player because he's still relatively young. Right. And he played well with KOC.
Correct.
As his quarterback whisperer. But now when you start talking $40 million range.
Yes.
And there's still some chinks in the armor there. There's still some cracks that I'm not sure he can be the guy. And when we're giving him that amount of money like we gave to Kirk Cousins, I don't know if I want to go through that again where now we can't supplement the rest of the roster. Correct. Because we've devoted that much to Sam Darnold and he's good but not good enough to carry you. Correct.
But to suggest that the guy doesn't have it might be that wherever he goes, I don't think it will be here, wherever he goes, that he'll never get to the level that he would like to get to this team is, and that is like make a deep playoff run and get to a big game. But I'm not going to say I've come to that conclusion because of a poor game against Detroit. And maybe that is Sam. Maybe it'll end up in a nutshell. That is Sam Darnold. When the bright lights are on, he can't do it. Because there are guys that are gamers, right? That always come through when the bright lights come on. And those are the Hall of Famers. Those are the guys that go on to, the Michael Jordans of the world. The Tom Brady's of the world. These are the guys that, well, those are few and far between. They're hard to find. But I think Darnold still has a chance to have a pretty good career myself. And I'm not ready. And look, I don't want to give him $41 million either. I think you and I have discussed, there was a time, every team says they want to have a franchise quarterback, but I think we've all, not all of us, but for me, and I think you agree with me, I want a franchise quarterback, but I want him under a rookie deal. I don't want to have to pay him. Unless he is Mahomes, or he's
he's the elite of the elite.
Yeah, elite of the elite. I just don't want to give a guy $40-50 million a year and give him that 4-year deal at $40 million a year.
Like Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence right now.
Yeah, I just don't want to do that.
Or even Dallas with Dak Prescott.
Right. I don't want to do that. And I don't. And when you look at the rest of the Vikings team, they still got a lot. They got a lot of work to do. It's not like they're a player or two away. I think they're a bit more than that. But I just think for any team, unless he is the elite of the elite, I'd rather have, because like you say, that's $40 million you got to pay him. We have how much on the salary cap? 60. And I know there's ways to, because you can spread it out, and there's backloading and front loading and kicking the can down the road, but it eats up a big chunk of your salary cap, and so I'm not sure I want to do that either. I just think a lot of people are convinced that McCarthy is basically a shoo-in to be a great quarterback. I'm not. I
don't know how anyone can know.
Because. Yeah. You know what it is? Here's what I think it is for the most part. It's because people want to believe it. You and I have discussed this on and off for how long have we been together now? 10 years?
A little bit longer than that.
So like almost 20 years we've been doing this together. And we've talked about this many times, that it's that hope thing. You want your team to, you said you're willing to believe it. It's the hashtag faith thing that PA does. Just hashtag faith that we got the right guys in place. And maybe we do, maybe we don't. And it's, but we'll find out, because they're not going to trade McCarthy and sign for 2 firsts and a second and then sign my guy Justin Fields. They're not going to do that. My guess is they're going to go with J.J. McCarthy, and we'll see how that pans out. Peek at the Purple brought to you by Affordable Electric, affordable-electric.com. Shockingly affordable. Couple of other NFL notes, Tenneby. I want to get to the brouhaha between, was it Schefter?
Rappaport.
Ian Rappaport, and some other guy from Fox, and a couple of other NFL notes to get to as well here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Inspiration grows here. The Minneapolis Home and Garden Show runs March 5th through the 9th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. 5 days only to shop, compare, and save with more than 500 home experts. Plan your visit and save $2 on tickets at homeandgardenshow.com.
Who do you think should be making an appearance at the Home and Garden Show? Who is the true and only radio gardener?
You should be broadcasting live there, yeah.
That's what I would have done if I was this place sometimes. A couple of great giveaways before the program's over. Lakefront Music Fest is back, and it's bigger and better than ever. Rock Night is July 11th. I think they feature a different genre of music depending upon the night. Like Friday night is one genre, Saturday the next, and Sunday the next, if I'm not mistaken. Rock Night is July 11th, headlined by Foreigner. 38 special Loverboy tickets are on sale right now, but we're going to give away a pair. And then, of course, tomorrow night, I don't necessarily say it's going to be the social event. Here's what I want to know. Why doesn't the Star Tribune, when they'll always have, during the week, they'll have this weekend in the Twin Cities, the big gigs. And Sauce and I are never mentioned. Oh, they'll mention Nate Bargatze, and they'll mention Nate Bargatze.
You've got to be kidding me.
And they'll mention all these musical acts, but they never mention Sauce and Common as a big gig. Well, we're going to be there at Forgotten Star Brewing tomorrow night. One show only. Larry Mandela guy will MC. Tickets include your first beer for free. You can get your tickets at ForgottenStarBrewing.com. ForgottenStarBrewing.com. We'll give away another ticket, a pair of tickets here before the show is over. I have feelings too, tend to be. This came in at 12:11 on the KFAN. Bradshaw and Bryant text line says, why doesn't this show have some of the same accolades as the other shows? No high-powered interviews, no on-air interviews. We can truly tell the difference of on-air performances because your show is hideous. Now, that sounds like it's meat sauce because he says hideous all the time. So I would immediately think, I don't know if you're being a detective and you're trying to analyze texts or phone calls or evidence, because your show is hideous, right? Well, that's not nice.
No.
Well, first of all, I'll say, well, this show does have the same accolades as the other show. They just had the Barrett
Sports Media.
Barrett Sports Media just did their top 20 radio shows in a major market for each day part. And of the 37 or 39 that were eligible, that were nominated, I finished 12th. PA was 5th. Morning show was like 7th. Barrett was 14. I think we all got a lot of accolades. Again, I don't know why I have to spend any time defending what we do. We've been doing it at a high level for a long time. The numbers speak for themselves. The report cards are always basically A pluses. Yeah, occasionally we get a B, but they're all really, really good. And let's just say the show is responsible for millions of dollars of revenue. So it's like we're doing just fine. We don't do any high-powered interviews because we only have a 3-hour show and we have enough to say on our own. And what's a high-powered interview? Who can I rip? Who should I rip? Who should I rip?
Lavelli Neal.
Is Lavelli Neal a high-powered interview? All the shows have them. We've had them on occasionally. We do it. Yeah. We do interviews occasionally. We probably have Lavelle on 3 or 4 times a year. Bonus on 3 or 4 times a year. Bursich 3 or 4 times a year. Leber 3 or 4 times a year.
Well, here's what I would say.
Yeah.
Is there a bigger name in all of Minnesota, especially Minnesota sports, than Mark Rosen?
Yeah.
Joins your show 3 hours a week.
Yes. That's a high-powered guest.
Every other week he joins your show 3 hours a week.
So it's like, and people seem to like it. So I get it. It's an acquired taste, and some people don't like it, and I feel bad. Of course, when I responded to him on the text, I just said, well, there's that. Because I don't know what else to say. That we do what we do. The show has changed over the years. I used to do guests. I just don't want to talk to the Green Bay Gazette, Green Bay Packer beat writer and talk about the Green Bay offensive line. I don't think my audience wants that. They can get that elsewhere. Just like you said, on all the other shows, have the high-powered guests, and you can get that there. Now you just get the ramblings of an idiot. And what's wrong with that? Sometimes you like to listen to the ramblings of an idiot and then tend to be trying to rein me in and rolling his eyes and shrugging his shoulders and shaking his head. Speaking of that, I got a hockey situation that came up in a playoff game last night that I was alerted to, and I wanted you to tell me if you can interpret this. Team A has a delayed penalty called against them. Team B's goaltender skates off the ice, right? Team B, who is the team that the goaltender skated, they have the empty net now. He tries to pass to one of his teammates.
Yeah.
But it bounces off one of Team A guys and goes into the net. So it bounced off him. It just hit his shin pad and went in. Should that have been a goal or not a goal?
So the team that had the delayed penalty passed it off of...
Yeah,
the team that pulled their goalie passed it off of the team that got the penalty. That is no goal.
Yes.
Now, if you pass it in your net directly without them touching it, that would be a goal.
Yes. And in the game last night, the referees called it wrong. They said it was a goal. They didn't know the rule because the rule, and I wouldn't have known.
Are they saying it has to be possession?
Well, see, and that's what I would have thought too. But obviously, I'm a
high school game, or what was this from?
No, it was Division III hockey. It was reasonable doubt for reasonable fees. Son was playing for Endicott, playoff game.
Oh,
it was a win or go home. But I told him, I said, well, was there a home team or was it neutral site? He said, well, the other team was a home team. I go, well, then it's not win or go home because if they lose, they're already home. So he goes, okay, survive in advance. I go, that's the better way to say it. You know me, I'm into technicalities, tend to be. But the referees thought what I would have thought, and that would be, You have to have possession. That's when the whistle blows, and then it goes.
Well, that might be the correct answer then.
Yeah. But it's not. You were right.
I was right. Okay.
No, you are right. It should, because then Reasonable sent me.
You grabbed the rule book?
Yeah, well, he found it. Here's what happened, and he sent me. Give me a second. Here's this. Yeah, here it is. It says, during a delayed penalty, a goal may not be scored by the penalized team as a result of a deflection off a penalized team player.
There you go.
They ruled it a goal, but guess what happened? Endicott tied the game and then won it in overtime. So the team that got
They overcame
jobbed,
it.
They overcame it. They got
They didn't
jobbed.
use it as an excuse.
No, they did. Yeah. Well, they didn't need to. But how bad would that have been? And let's say they lose in regulation or in overtime, and all of a sudden the officials check the record book and go, "Oh wait, we were wrong." But that was a rule that, and again, I'm a casual when it comes to hockey, but I would have definitely thought, well, yes, he bounced it off him. There was no possession of the puck. That should be a goal, but that does not count. So I just thought I'd see if you knew it.
It has happened before where teams have scored on themselves in that situation.
And you're
Very
a hockey
rare.
guy, so you understand it. I saw another NFL note for you, Teneby. National Football League is looking into, the competition committee is looking into changing the overtime rules again. As the overtime rules stand right now, there's a coin flip. If Tennebee's team wins the coin toss and they elect to take the ball and they march down the field and score a tutty, has to be a tutty, right? Field goal won't do it. Mm-hmm. If you score a tutty, the other team doesn't get the ball. I've always thought that was inherently unfair. I didn't understand why they did that in the first. Well, I guess I get the idea of it. It's like, well, we don't even like overtime to begin with because the players are beat up by the time the 3-hour game is over. We don't want the game to go too terribly long. It's only a 10-minute overtime. You get 2 timeouts. If the team that gets the ball originally either has to punt it away or turns it over on downs, then the next score wins. If the team that gets the ball first kicks a figgy, the game's not over. The other team gets it. They're thinking of going back to both teams like they do in playoff football. Both teams get a possession of the football.
Yeah.
Which I never liked the one where if one team got possession of the ball, marched down the field and scored a touchdown, the game's over. I think both teams have to have a fair opportunity to touch the ball.
It was a way to try to make it more fair because it used to just be any score, right?
Correct,
like the team that won the coin toss could just get a field goal. So you march 30 yards down the field and kick a field goal and win. So it was a way to at least try to make it a little more fair than that.
And I understand that, but I don't even know why they stopped there. To me, that didn't even make any sense. I don't know why it took them so long to think through this. I mean,
I'm guessing they didn't want the second possession just because they don't want, because of safety reasons, you don't want the game going on and on.
Right. Well, I know that, but it's still, I think what they finally figured out though is it's inherently unfair, and that's why it may on the surface appear to be safer. But I think all the teams have finally decided, well, that's the stupidest thing ever. You got to give both teams a chance. Because how many teams have gotten jobbed because of that? If you want to call it getting jobbed, I mean, you could say it won't stop them. Well, sometimes you can't stop them. And so your offense should be given a chance. As a matter of fact, I've said this before. I think it should be played just like a regular. You don't have to do 15 minutes, but I think you do 10 minutes and it's just played like the game is regularly. It's not, first score wins. It's not now if let's say with the way they're changing the rule, even if Tenby's team gets a touchdown, my team gets a chance to get a touchdown. If I don't get one, game over, you win. 4 minutes in overtime? No, to me that's too different from that. I don't like the shootout in hockey. I understand it, but I don't like it, and I don't like the 3-on-3. Though I think. Are you a 3-on-3 guy? Do you like that the way they play overtime?
I like it better than a shootout.
Okay.
So I would like it to go longer to try to reduce the amount of shootouts.
Okay.
I don't like games being determined by shootout.
Do you like the 3-on-3, or would you rather just do we just keep going the 6-on-6,
5-on-5 in the playoffs is great. I understand because teams might have to get on a flight and play the next night that you don't want to have a game going into 4 overtimes.
Okay.
Like I understand why in the regular season. I would rather have it just go 5-on-5 till sudden death because that's the best. But I get why they want to limit in the regular season.
Right, but that goes back to, I guess they've decided that they do not want ties in any way, shape, or form. Because it used to be back in the olden days when I was growing up, is they didn't have overtime at all. The teams played 3 periods. If it was 3-3 at the end of 3, you got a draw. I guess that just doesn't satisfy. I don't know if it's the teams and the players or if it's the sporting public or everybody that says, we got to have a winner or a loser. We can't have a tie. I kind of like that there were ties. It didn't bother me. I don't know why.
For some reason, there was a lot of teams that would then play in a defensive shell to just make sure you get the 1 point while also trying to get the 2 points. I would like to see them move to a 3-point system, right? Right now, you get 2 points for any kind of win. If you win in regulation, you win in a shootout, you win in overtime, you get 2 points. Even in the Four Nations Face-Off, they did experiment with the 3-point thing, where if you win in regulation, you get 3 points.
3 points.
If you win in a shootout or overtime, you get 2 points. If you lose in shootout or overtime, you get 1. If you lose in regulation, you get 0.
Okay.
For me, because even when you have the point structure it is now, right, where just getting to overtime, you're guaranteed a point. I've always thought it weird that, like, Wild Utah play tonight. If that game ends in regulation, there's a total of 2 points handed out. If that game ends in overtime tonight, there's 3 points divvied out. So you are now really kind of incentivizing teams to just make sure they get to overtime. I would love to have a situation where the last 3 minutes of regulation is exciting hockey because teams are trying to get that 3 points for a regulation win.
See, that makes sense
now
to me,
that's
too.
exciting, and then overtime is still exciting. And you shouldn't get as many points for an overtime win as you do as a regulation win or a shootout win.
I would, I'd absolutely agree with you, and I don't know why they don't turn to you for your guidance.
But back to your NFL overtime take of you would just like to see it play out like a normal football game, right? I don't disagree. I will say I feel like the league and fans, it's a little bit of semantics. Like, there's never a perfect way to make it completely fair unless you go the college route, which I don't want to go because I don't like the college route. But, like, even if you're just going to go, all right, let's play 15 minutes, who's ever leading after this 15 minutes wins, you're still, the overtime team's always, the team that wins the coin toss is always going to have an advantage of some sort. So even I look at, the numbers right now from 2017 to 2024 is receiving teams win 56.8% of the games during that time if they win the coin toss. And I still think no matter if you're going to try to make it look like a field position football game, the winning coin toss team is always just going to have a small advantage of some sort. And really the only fair way is to go the college route, but I wouldn't want to go that route. I'd rather have a little bit of unfairness where the game is actually being played like the way we're used to seeing it played.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just...
Like, everyone wants, like, this perfect solution where it's 50-50 no matter whether and that's just not going to... That doesn't exist.
I don't like the college either. I really don't. I mean, it's 25-yard line.
There's no field position. There's no potentially a deep pass that could end a game.
And then there's...
It's just red zones.
Then there's the media controversy at the NFL Combine. The most updated story I found came about an hour ago, Tennessee. Adam Schefter hilariously pokes fun at the NFL Combine drama between reporters Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport. So here's what happened. According to Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, NFL newsbreakers Jordan Schultz, he's with Fox, I believe, right? And Ian Rappaport got into a verbal altercation at the Starbucks inside the JW Marriott in Indianapolis. According to the report, Schultz, who is the son of former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, started the confrontation. Basically, the two insiders had conflicting takes on the reported meeting between Raiders part owner Tom Brady and Rams quarterback Matt Stafford. Rappaport framed the meeting as a by-chance encounter, while Schultz dismissed the notion as that it was planned, or dismissed that notion as planned. The scoop-off likely sparked the altercation. Yeah. So come Thursday morning, Schefter joked about the scene of the fireworks. He said, where did he say it?
He had a picture of Starbucks.
And his head on a swivel.
Genius.
It's genius. So it did not get physical. I thought Abbott told me that they had to actually be separated. Is that true?
Yes.
They were actually, so it wasn't just a verbal altercation. They had wanted to go at each other over. Now, you got to fill me in, and I probably should, Abbott's going to be mad that I didn't ask you before we got on the air. Did they both basically say your grandma wears army boots? I mean, did they say you're totally insane? If you have a disagreeing in opinions, that's fine. Rosen and I disagree about, and you and I disagree about, should the Vikings have signed 5 running backs rather than not signing 5 running backs? It didn't turn into some kind of a confrontation before us. Now, this was reporting, but it was still speculation because nobody's able to prove, at least yet, whether Brady, this was intention.
Yes.
That Brady and Stafford planned to meet.
Intended to host him.
They intended to host him. So I just don't know why it would come to a confrontation unless one of them basically called the other guy a blithering idiot. I've seen no evidence of that, but maybe they have. But it's just over.
Scoop off.
A scoop off is what it is. It's just I just find I'm just puzzled by the scoop off and why would get there. But there you go. Scoop off. And
I heard a little bit of Ben Leber talking about with PA, and he seems to believe Rappaport's side. I find that hard to believe that the two just happened to meet at a ski resort in Montana at the exact same time. It's possible. I think it's more likely than not that there was a planned meeting out of it.
Well, because of Brady and New England's history.
That doesn't help.
Deflated footballs.
Spygate.
The accusation that the reason Brady's ankles were always taped so heavily is there were joy buzzers under that tape so that somebody would sit up in a booth and because it was uncanny how it seemed like Brady had eyes in the back of his head. He always knew when the pressure was coming from behind him without even looking. And there was the suggestion that somebody sat up in the booth and they would hit a little clicker. You ever do that eye test at the optometrist where you put your chin in the little cradle?
Yeah.
And they show those little squiggly lines. And every time you see one, you're supposed to click it because they're checking your peripheral vision. So you're sitting there like this and you're just staring at the screen and you see a little squiggly light squiggle on the gray screen. You go click, 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 click every time you see it. So somebody's up there like that. And when they see somebody get right behind Brady, they hit it, and then it zaps Brady in the ankle, and he knows, I got trouble behind me, then he moves out of the back. Now, whether that happened or not, I don't know. I wouldn't put anything past these pro sports teams and these players. But I'm with you.
And we only know the stuff we got caught on cheating. I mean, it's possible there was, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. There might be so much more we don't even know about.
That's exactly right. And I tend to agree with you. I don't think that was a coincidence that they just both happened to be at the ski resort at the same time. Because what you can do is, it's actually, unless you have evidence of text messages between each other or emails or phone calls, you just go, oh, it's just a coincidence. And so you tell on your pledge, go, okay, let's meet at a ski resort in Montana. And if anybody sees us, we'll just tell them, hey, we just both happen to be vacationing there. We know nothing about it. And unless you can prove it, the National Football League can't do anything about tampering or anything about that, right? So it's actually almost foolproof unless you can find evidence that they did plan it out. I would be willing to bet that they planned it out, that was not a coincidence. So, and Leber thinks it was just a coincidence, is what he said.
He seems, he was just saying, he thinks it's very possible.
Yeah.
That a lot of these NFL players all vacation in the same spot, and the timing of it, because the season's now over, would make sense. I'm like, I definitely acknowledge it's possible that two random people just, but given the trade rumors with him, given that the minority owner for the Raiders, a team that needs a quarterback.
They're one of the three teams that they've been talking about that might be interested
just happens to be a team that's interested in that, it wasn't Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah who just happened to be there at the same, well, even that might even, the Vikings technically could be on a Matthew Stafford. Right? It wasn't Andy Reid just happened to show up.
Exactly right.
In Montana at the same time Matthew Stafford did.
And with so much at stake, Wins, losses, money, everything, trophies, championships. That means so much to these guys. You can't put anything past them. Yeah, I think that was it was prearranged, but I don't know that.
I'm with you.
Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back, 5:34 at the top of the hour. Tennessee, what you got for us?
Yeah, one of us pulled off a miracle last night.